Well, we're breaking a story tomorrow, tonight at midnight, actually, on the Daily Caller, that contains exchanges between members of Journolist in which some suggest that the federal government shut down Fox. Now, these are, in one case, it's a law professor, in another case, it's a fairly well-known journalist. People saying, you know what, why doesn't the government, why doesn't the FCC just yank their license? Fox is so annoying, we don't think they have a right to be heard, and we think that the power of government ought to be used to squelch their voice. Now, look, you don't have to be a Fox viewer like Fox to recognize that's authoritarian. That's sick, actually. It's totally un-American, and they were espousing it in public on the site.
I could tell you because I was in the middle of this almost from the very beginning, and I thought this of grave importance because I thought it was a window into who the person Barack Obama was, a 20-year association.
That's right.
Which led to the statement, even after the release of GD America and all this, I can no longer disown Reverend Wright that I can the black community. Between that and Reverend Ayers and Father Flager, and I always questioned whether or not there was a relationship with Louis Farrakhan, I thought these were the most radical elements that anybody could be associated with, and I was stunned by the media's lack of interest in the story. And there was
well, they were interested. They were profoundly interested because the supporters of Obama within the press, and that was, I think, most journalists, understood this was his Achilles heel. If any issue was going to crush his candidacy, it was Reverend Jeremiah Wright. The guy's a smooth talker. You know, he did everything right, but this one story during those primaries had the capacity to kill his candidacy dead, and that's why they decided to lie about it.
You know, that interview that I did with him in March of '07, as far as I know, was the last interview that he did all the way through the rest of '07 and '08 leading up to the campaign. So obviously,
which itself it's a travesty. Why were reporters camped outside of his house every single day? I mean, you know, flip it around. Had this been a white Republican consorting with the Grand Dragon, I mean, there would have been a 60-minute stakeout outside. This guy wouldn't be able to go to the men's room without a camera crew. All right? But so the press pulled back.
So I declared all throughout 2008, journalism as we know it in America died.
Yes.
And I think if we have the Obama media now plotting to kill the Jeremiah Wright story and attack those of us that had the courage to investigate what I think is a very important story and label them racist or shut them down, as you're now going to break this on the Daily Caller tonight, what does that say about freedom in America more than anything else?
Well, these are not people who are interested in the free exchange of ideas, which, of course, forms the basis of journalism. The base of journalism is the idea that the more information, accurate, honest information, the better. People can form their own opinions. These are not people who believe that. They are not, by temperament, journalists. They're authoritarians. Anybody who would suggest shutting down a television network, using government power to close it, to shutter it, because they disagree with its point of view, that person can't call himself a journalist, and yet they do, and they get away with it, and that's wrong.
All right, so to the extent, and it was very interesting, when George Stephanopoulos was on my radio show, prior to one of the debates when he actually brought up the question of Bill Ayers. Oh, George, he's just a guy in the neighborhood. He got away with that. Bill Ayers, he sat on boards with. He gave speeches with. He started his campaign in Bill Ayers and Bernadine Doran's home.
Yes.
The guy was part of a group, the Weather Underground, that bombed the Pentagon, the Capitol, and New York City Police headquarters. And then George asked the question to his credit, and people said, well, he's taking questions from Sean Hannity, and they excoriated him. So any effort, as evidenced by this, do you think this is all connected, of any journalist to ask any probing question was met with fierce resistance and criticism? So is this now the future of journalism, I guess, is my question now in the future?
Well, sure. I mean, Charlie Gibson and George Stephanopoulos, who led that debate, that famous debate during the primaries, neither of whom is known as an avid right-winger, but they gave a pretty straight, I thought, performance and asked some tough questions of the candidates, and they were savaged by members of Journalist on this list and really personally attacked and sort of read the riot act. And the idea was, let's do all we can to undermine them because they weren't useful to the Obama campaign. I mean, these are hard partisans working on behalf of candidate Barack Obama. That's how we wound up with him as president. Make no mistake.
Well, I can tell you, and there's a great investigative piece. I'll be looking forward to reading the full piece that you put out tonight at midnight on the Daily Caller. But I can tell you this personally, is that when I investigated both the Ayers and the Wright story, and I've been under fire my whole career, and I'm open to criticism because I give opinions every day, it was never this vicious. I mean, I was called every name in the book, and it now appears that it could have been part of an orchestrated effort, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I suspect, Sean, in the coming days we will be getting to the Sean Hannity part of journalists. So it may have been more vicious than you realize, but we'll let you know.
Is that a definite, or can I expect, is that a promise or a threat? I don't know which way to take. All right, Tucker.
I suspect you're on their radar screens. Thanks.
All right, Tucker Carlson, great investigative work. Thank you for being with us. And there is plenty more coming up on tonight's edition of Hannity.